Hello and welcome. I'm Marc and this is the Ultimate Guitar Show. All right, we've got a great show for you today. In the All About Technique section, we're going to learn how to do bends. I'm going to explain what a bend is. For the riff of the week, I'm going to teach you how to play a 12-bar blues progression. And then as a special guest, we have Keith Wyatt in the house from the Blasters. He's going to show you how to use a blues scale pattern, and then he's going to do a killer jam for you over the 12-bar blues progression. All about technique. We're going to build on the lessons that we've done the last couple shows, and we're going to learn how to do bends. Now what a bend is, it's where we take a string and actually bend the string to change the pitch of the note. Now a bend is one of the most expressive forms of playing on the guitar, and it's something that I think gives you the opportunity to sound a lot better if you master it and a lot worse if you don't. When you bend a note, you always want to bend the pitch to the next scale tone in the key that you're in. What I want to talk about is a couple different types of bends, the two most common. First was what we refer to as a full bend. And what a full bend is where we bend the note up a whole step or 2 frets. For example, if I play the 12th fret on the 3rd string and I bend it up a full step, it should end up sounding like the 14th fret on the same string. So what I'll do is I'll actually hit the 14th fret and get a pitch reference so I know what the note sounds like. And now I'll bend my 12th fret to sound like that same note. So if we look at slide number 1, what we see is the 12th fret bent up a full step. The 14th in parentheses on the slide is indicating what the pitch should sound like. You'll notice that a bend is indicated on the tablature by a little arrow bending up on the slide that you see there with an F over the top, the F standing for full. One more time, 12 bending up a full step to sound like the 14th fret. Now, what a half bend would be exactly half of that. We would want the note to sound like the pitch a half step up. For example, 12 would now sound like 13 if I do a half step bend. So if we call up slide number 2, you'll see 12 with the arrow, a half above it indicating a half step bend, then 13 in parentheses, and that parentheses indicating what the 12th fret should end up sounding like. So again, we test the note. And then match it. Okay, if we call up slide number 3, this is a great one. What I want to do here is I want to show you a way to practice your bends to make sure you're getting the right pitch. What we're going to do in slide number 3 is we're going to hit the 12th fret, then hit the 14th fret, back to the 12th fret, and get a little melody, if you will. It sounds like this. Now we're going to put our 3rd finger on the 12th fret, 3rd string, and we're going to bend that up a full step and try to make that same sound using a bend. It sounds like this. Again, the reference. And then try one more, say, okay, 4th finger, 14th fret, 5th string. So you do something real low, okay? Which brings me actually to another point. So before I show you this exercise, let me give you a little tip. When you're bending, I'd say 80% of the time it's safe to say that if you look at the guitar from a vertical position, the fingerboard, the center point would be actually between strings 3 and 4, okay? So what we do then is say, okay, strings 1 through 3, we're going to push up towards the center of the guitar. Strings 6, 5, and 4, we're most likely going to pull down. Now the biggest gray areas for that would be strings 3 and 4. 3, sometimes I'll pull it down, sometimes I'll push it up. 4, sometimes I'll push up or pull down. But in regards to all the other strings, almost exclusively, 1 and 2 I'll push up, 6 and 5 I'll pull down. 3 and 4, 80% of the time I'll do them the appropriate direction, meaning 3rd string up, 4th string down. But those would be the variables on that. So if I go to the 5th string, 4th finger, and I want to do a full bend, well then I would say, okay, 15, 17 to 15, and then try to do that same bend. And notice that I'm trying to bend by using all the different variables, the frets, the wider frets, the thinner frets, the different size strings, and most importantly with your bends really is make sure you get comfortable bending with all 4 fingers. That's going to be the key there. And you're also going to notice your fingers will probably be a little sore if you put some time into this. But go ahead and make your own exercises and spend a lot of time really listening to what you're playing, getting your reference points, and then trying to match those reference points. Riff of the week. Today I've got a great one for you. We're going to learn a 12-bar blues progression in the key of G. Now typically what happens, if you'll put the time in and learn this, this is the part of the guitar playing and the practice that will actually hook you to become a guitar player for life if you get this down, because it's just a lot of fun and it's something you can play with other people. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the riff for you, what we're going to learn. Then I'm going to call up the tablature on the slides and I'll talk you through it and show you how to play it. Here's what we're going to be learning. Sounds like this. That would be 12 bars. You'll loop that and you'll keep playing it for days and you'll have a blast doing it. Now if we call up slide number 1, we've got 4 parts to it. Several things I want you to notice right when the tablature comes up. The first would be the arrows above the notes. I want you to definitely pay attention to the picking patterns involved throughout. And it's basically alternate picking throughout the entire song until the very last 3 chords, which we'll explain when we get there. Secondly, notice the repeat signs. And if there's any time that we have a repeat and there's more than 2 or more than just a regular repeat, it'll be indicated by saying 3x or 4x. And that simply means do that section 3 times or 4 times or whatever the number is. So looking at section number 1, we have our first finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. And we're going to do that with down up with the pick. We're going to jump down to our 3rd finger, 5th fret, 4th string, same thing, down up. First finger, 3rd fret, 4th string, down up. And then 3rd finger, 5th fret, 5th string, down up. Now you want to lay your fingers a little bit flat to try to keep the other strings quiet. And what I mean by that is if I get the side shot here, you can say I kind of bring my finger back a little bit. That'll keep the other strings quiet in case I accidentally hit them. But the point is to try not to hit those other strings anyways. You want to be pretty isolated with your pick. So what it looks like is this, if I put it in context. And notice there's a 3x, so that first section is going to be done 3 times. Sounds like this. Now on the first show we did the chromatic scale, which is where we did 5, 6, 7, 8. Well here we're going to do a chromatic scale starting on the 6th string, but we're going to hit each note twice with the same down up picking pattern. Sounds like this. So what I'm playing is first finger 3rd fret 6th string, 2nd finger 4th fret, 3rd finger 5th, and then 4th finger 6th. With that exact same rhythm. Now if we look at the next section, we notice a new set of repeat signs, but there's no 3x or 4x, so that means it's only going to be played twice. And it's the exact same pattern as the first section we played. The only difference is we moved everything up 1 string. So now our root note will be starting on the 5th string. The way this is played, first finger 3rd fret 5th string twice. Again with the down up with the pick throughout. 3rd finger 5th fret 3rd string, down up. First finger 3rd fret same string, down up. And then 3rd finger 5th fret 4th string. And we'll play that section twice. Now if you'll notice the next section, we go back and it's exactly the same as the first section. There's a repeat sign there. The only difference is instead of 3 times that we did at the first section, we're only going to do it twice here. So we go back to the 6th string, play the same thing. Okay, let's call up slide 2. On slide 2, the first section is going to take the same pattern we did as the first section, but we're going to move it around. So this is kind of neat. This whole song is basically a series of patterns just moved around. Our first finger is now going to start on the 5th fret, 5th string, root note D. We're going to do that same thing, down, up, to our third finger, 7th fret, 3rd string. First finger, 5th fret, 3rd. Third finger, 7th fret, 4th. So it's the same pattern. And notice here, there's no repeat sign. So you're only going to play it one time. Sounds like this. The next section, we're going to take that same pattern we just played and now move it over, down a whole step to the 3rd fret, 5th string and play the same thing. Next section, lastly, what we'll do here is we're going to take it and play it in the same place that we started the whole song, but just one time. So we're starting first finger, 3rd fret, 6th string, same pattern we've been playing, same picking. Don't forget the picking. Down, up. So let's do those first 3 sections. Sounds like this. Now for fun, I threw in these 3 chords at the end. You could play single notes if you want to make it a little bit easier. You could just simply play 3rd fret, 5th string, to 4th fret, to 5th fret. Just play 3 chromatic notes. Might sound like this. But these last chords, since we learned chords on the last show, I thought I'd show you a neat little shape. It's called a dominant 7 chord. What we're going to do is we're going to start by placing our 2nd finger, 3rd fret, 5th string, first finger, 2nd fret, 4th string, and third finger, 3rd fret, 3rd string. And we're going to hit those 3 notes together all at the same time. Take that chord shape and move it up a half step to the C sharp, and then one more half step to the D. So really what we're playing is C7, C sharp 7, D7. With that rhythm. One more time. And here's what it sounds like all of slide number 2. So starting on the 5th fret, 5th string. Now, what I want to do is I want to put the whole song together for you at a slow speed, then I'll play it at regular speed, and you can kind of see how the whole thing comes together. Here we go, from the beginning. Here's what that same song sounds like at a decent tempo, using my pinky on the high notes and using some distortion on it. And there you have it, riff of the week, 12-bar blues in G. We have a real treat for you guys today and a real honor for me. One of my good friends, Keith Wyatt, is here from the Blasters, guitar player from the Blasters, as well as director of programs at Musicians Institute, and coincidentally was one of my teachers years ago, and he was gracious enough to come on the show with us today. He's going to teach you a little bit about the blues that we just did. He's going to show you how to play over it. And Keith, just welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's my
really
pleasure on behalf of MI and the Blasters and American musicians everywhere. It's an honor to be here.
Excellent. Well, if you want to check out more of Keith's stuff, you can check out the Blasters at theblasters.com. Other than that, Keith's going to take it away and teach you guys how to play some blues scales. And thanks again, Keith.
All
really
right,
appreciate it.
Let's get down to it. Blues time. What Marc was showing you in the lick of the week was a rhythm pattern based on the blues chord progression. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how to solo over the blues chord progression. And the basic tool that we're going to use is kind of, you might think of it as the Swiss Army knife of scales. It's the pentatonic scale, minor pentatonic to be exact. And this scale has so many applications to so many different styles of music. If you know how to play nothing but this scale, you can pretty much find your way as a soloist playing any style you can name. It's really the foundation. Now we're in the key of G. And Marc's rhythm pattern was based on the 3 chords that make up the blues progression in the key of G. And the first lick that he showed you started on the 6th string at the 3rd fret with the first finger. We're going to start with the same thing. Now before I teach you the scale, let me just run through it and show you how it lays out on the neck and how it sounds, and then we'll break it down and I'll show you all the details. All right, so here's the minor pentatonic scale in G. All right, now I ran through that kind of fast. Let me take it a little slower and I'll show you exactly where to put your fingers. First finger on that 6th string G, 3rd fret. Reach up to the 6th fret with your 4th finger. And as you reach up, by the way, it's okay to let the other fingers come down. This is somewhat of a personal choice about how you lay your fingers on the neck. But when you play blues, and as we get into some of the licks here, you'll find that the more fingers you place down on the neck, the more support it gives your hand. And it makes it a little bit easier to do the bends and stay in tune and so on. So I go 1st finger, 4th finger, then I cross to the 5th string, 1st finger at the 3rd fret, and then the 3rd finger. Now this is called the box pattern because it lays out in almost a nice symmetrical little box, and it's very easy to visualize. So you've got the 1st finger on the 5th string, 3rd finger, then we go to the 4th string. Same shape, 1st finger, 3rd finger. 3rd string, again, 1st finger, 3rd finger, 2nd string, 1st finger, 4th finger, and then 1st string, 1st finger, 4th finger, and then I bring it back to G. And if you know how the guitar is tuned, of course, the 6th string and the 1st string have the same note at the same fret. So G on the 6th string matches G on the 1st string. I'm going to isolate things a little bit and help you focus on some of the techniques that I'm going to describe here. Probably 80% of what most blues players play when you listen to guys, and this of course applies to rock as well, it occurs on the top 4 strings. That's where you get up into the higher range, which matches where a singer sings. And so when you want to sing on the guitar, you tend to play on the higher strings. So we're going to start the phrases that I show you from the 4th string. And again, knowing the tuning of the guitar, G on the 6th string matches G on the 4th string, up 2 frets, and G on the 1st string. These notes, the G's, that's your one, that's your home, your reference point. When you play licks, that's the note you're going to keep coming back to, no matter what octave it is. That's the home note. So when I start on the 4th string with my 3rd finger, I'm starting on home, and then I'm going to go from there up in pitch to the 3rd string and continue through the same pattern and up to the top. All right, now Marc showed you 2 ways to bend a string, and I'm going to show you a 3rd way, which is kind of related, and this is what turns this pentatonic scale into a blues scale, and this is often referred to as the blues scale, like a synonymous name, even though they're slightly different. Starting on G, I go to the 3rd string with my 1st finger. Now what I'm going to do, this is a blue note. Now you can hear when I play that note with my 1st finger, I'm not playing just that, I'm playing that, right? It's out of tune, but that's deliberate. What that note is the note halfway between there and there. Now Marc showed you how to bend a half step, right? You bend that string and you try to match that fretted note. In this case, we're going to bend so we're not matching the fretted note, we're in between the fretted notes. Now what you do is just pull it down toward the floor just slightly, and that gives you just enough of that grit, you know. That is the blue note, and in blues, what made blues unique as a style of music was it was an African sensibility, a melodic sensibility applied to a European style of harmony. And so you have notes that don't quite match the chords, and that's blues. It's that in-between sound. So play along with me right here. I'm going to play 2 notes back and forth. The root, that's G, and then the blue note. All right, here we go. Now you can hear when I play that blue note, it feels like it wants to go up, right? That's the idea. It feels like it's reaching for the next note, but it doesn't quite get there. Now if I apply the blue note idea to the rest of the blues scale, I come up with another set of blue notes like this. First the root, then that note, and then I play with my 3rd finger and I bend that note a little bit too. Right? Now that note is close to the note at the 4th fret, or I'm sorry, the 6th fret. Right? Now that note is often referred to as the flat 5 for reasons that we don't need to go into right now. But that is a blue note, and that's part of the blues scale. So if I use those 3 notes, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 3rd finger, bend, bring it back down. That starts to sound pretty bluesy. I'm getting away from the frets and getting in between. That's where the action is. All right, now we continue. And I'm on the fretted note, 2nd string, 3rd fret. And now I'm going to play the note at the 6th fret. Now you got a choice here. I can play it properly with my 4th finger, or I can play it blues style with my 3rd finger. The reason for using my 3rd finger is I want to bend that note, and this is a personal habit. And I'm not saying it's a good habit, but it's a habit. I use my 3rd finger when I bend because it has more strength. Right? So when I want to put a little juice on that note, I'm going to bend it just slightly. Again, it's a blue note. It's not quite a half step. Right? Now start with your 1st finger on the 2nd string, and then you can use your 4th finger. I'm not watching. And bend that note like that, or you can use your 3rd finger and bend it like that. Now let's play through that whole scale again using the blue notes. 4th string, 3rd finger. Now I can even keep going and add this note on top. Come back down, I do the same thing. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to play a solo for you over a rhythm track, and I'm going to use the same ideas that I just discussed and kind of expand on it a little bit. And I should point out, by the way, that of course the whole step bend that Marc showed you earlier, all of these are basic part of phrasing in blues and phrasing on the guitar in general. So I can add the whole step bends, the half step bends, the blue note bends, that little rolling action there. You've already learned hammer-ons and pull-offs. You've got all the basic raw materials you need to play blues. So I'm going to take the G minor pentatonic scale and spiff it up a little bit, and then go ahead and stretch off from that and jam over this chord progression. Okay, hope you like it.